John's pointing at me, so.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I'm Diane Reed. You see me up front every week. I do worship, plan the worship services along with Pastor Will, and I also oversee areas of outreach, corresponding with missionaries and stuff like that, is encouraging others to do that as part of my job there. Community events, community life is the worship and community life is my title. So that involves faith formation for adults too, kind of, Christina with the children, and then Nicole with the youth, and Christina as well, and then adults, Bible studies and that kind of things kind of falls underneath my umbrella too. So probably my favorite thing is planning worship, finding songs and readings and things along with Will that just kind of reinforce the message that we're hearing each week. Is a challenge sometimes, and probably the thing I like best. But I also really love just leading worship. And it's my prayer every week that the songs that we sing and the things that are said are things that build people's faith, because that's really what it's all about. Your last, John. I just got to grab something off the printer.
I'm John Whitfleet, and privileged to be the pastor of visitation here. It was about 11 years ago that my wife and I were looking for a church. Because of retirement, it was wise for us not to stay where we had been. And living in Grandville, we try to operate, my wife and I, with the biblical phrase that I had given a lot of young couples as they were preparing for marriage and looking for a church. And that's the little line from Genesis 12, blessed to be a blessing. So we were looking for a church where we could be blessed, but then the hope would be that we could be a blessing where we were. Never thinking that for the last 10 years I would be the pastor of visitation here. But we indeed have found this a place both where we have been blessed and where I think at least our prayer has been that we are a blessing. So my work involves primarily, but not exclusively, the older parts of our church family. And we have members who live in 11 different senior communities, which stretch from Freedom Village in Holland to the Holland home in Porter Hills on the east side of Grand Rapids. So somehow the seniors find comfortable places living in a variety of spots.
And John puts on a lot of miles.
And the miles are there too. But the beautiful part is that I have the opportunity to reflect God's grace. I see that as my role, to reflect God's grace to people who are getting older, losing independence, and many of whom will say, and right now we're living in what we call God's waiting room. They're waiting to be transitioned to glory. But it's not only those in those senior communities, it also involves those of any age in a hospital setting. And that can take us all. COVID has made my job a little more difficult because so much of it had to be done by phone or outside of a window by telephone rather than in person. But we're so delighted that almost everywhere now we at least have an opportunity to get in. So reflecting God's grace and being an encourager, that's my prayer every time I get out of the car. And I'll just let you know that I think I have a biblical reference point that I sometimes call an all-occasion card, because it fits every age, every circumstance. I don't care whether it's joy or sorrow or anything in between. And that's the wonderful little line that St. Paul wrote way back when he was in jail. And my God will supply every need of yours according to the riches of his grace.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are transitioning from one church to another, or trying to find a church home, bank on that promise. The Lord God will supply every need and provide you that just right home. God bless.
Okay. Thank you, John. Thanks. And John goes back a ways also with Pastor Dale as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that you would just take a break, stand, walk over to the table, grab a binder, And each of you take one of each of those things that are available, including a pad and a pen. And so let's just stand and let's just grab each of you just grab a binder, grab a pen, and each of the handouts, and then you can kind of assemble that binder for just a second. So if you're a couple, you can grab one. But, we didn't know. That's amazing.
I just got the news about Pepsi.
Okay, well, that's praise report. Yeah. Okay, let's. There we go. So you're going to be able to assemble your binder any way you'd like. I think the very fact that we have this class is a praise report because South Grandville Church has not had that many new member classes in the past. But we are joining many new people or enfolding many new people, and so we're thankful for that. So I'm glad that you are all part of that. Okay. By the way, Diane, this guy right here, Mitch, he has a lot of background in technical and sound. Okay, and so we can always add individuals. For the rest of you, I just want to highlight the fact that Diane is an individual who's the go-to individual for many things, but especially for worship. So if you'd like to be involved as a liturgist, as a reader, as an individual who sings on praise team, you have many opportunities to be involved with that, whether it's a children's message, whatever it might be, that blessing. Okay? All right, so hopefully we have copies, and going to move forward here. Diane, what are we doing next year with this? Just doing the contact information?
Yeah, just point out that there's cards there with
There
it.
should be a little card that's available to you that you should have picked up, and you can insert it in there. Now, the pad, I'm going to just give you a special encouragement. If you have any questions, we're going to be meeting for just a few weeks together. Please write that down, and then you can hand it in at the end of the class, and we promise that we will, if we don't have an answer, we'll get you one. And there'll be other opportunities as you write your questions down. That's not the only time you can ask questions, obviously, but we will get back with you, okay, either individually or in a group setting, okay? All right, so now here comes your part, okay? Your part is the opportunity to very briefly explain who you are, how you came to be a part of this community and worshiping community. Just a few words of introduction if you would like, okay? So I'm looking at Jody here. I'm going to ask that you would stand first, okay? If you're able to do that. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jody Bannister. I am one half, my other half is now hunting in South Dakota, unfortunately, so he can't be here. I think he made it there, at least they left early yesterday. Anyways, he and I have one son, Peter, who has already done the welcome to the table, which was awesome. And I'm going to say you can blame our attendance mainly on Annette Stanley. Peter and their youngest, Lucas, have been school childhood friends for a long time. And Peter, begged us to go to this church for a good 2 years. We were semi-attending Eat a Bible, but through COVID that kind of fell apart, and here we are. So that is that.
Okay, awesome.
Anything else you need to know about?
That's all right. By the way, you're also a medical doctor.
Yes, I'm an internal medicine physician. I work for St. Mary's, mainly outpatient medicine at the downtown office there. So.
And I will tell you that Janet has had some good conversations with you. You were able to, as I struggle with Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, you've really kind of given some good guidance as well. So not that I'm encouraging you to make lots of telephone calls to Jody and say, hey, but nevertheless.
Yeah, I would say that's the one gift I have. I can be helpful. I can't prescribe you medications, but I can help answer questions.
Amen to that. Thank you so much. That's all right. So Edie, would you like to stand? And I'm just kind of picking on people. If you're not ready to say something, you can just say I pass. It's like if you want, but anyway, Edie, go ahead. If you.
I'm Edie Hirspink, was married to Reverend Bob Hirspink, who passed away 11 years ago. He was a son of this church, and I started coming to be with my father-in-law. He is now confined to Sunset. But I came to church here about 6 years ago just to sit with him so we could be together at church. And have been coming here ever since and really do enjoy South Grandville very much.
Who's next here? Shirley, would you like to?
Can I sit?
You may sit, okay.
I'm Shirley Wagner, my son Joel. We are from Hope Church, and so we are looking for a church. I think we initially came to South, well, Joel was in Friendship before, a few years ago, and looking for a church primarily close to our house. I think that was the first thing. I don't like to drive in the winter, so we're looking for something that was convenient, and Joel kind of said, Mom, let's go to South. So we've been here for maybe 4 weeks now.
God bless you.
Yeah, and very friendly. We've been very welcomed, which we are very grateful for. So we are still kind of feeling our way.
That's all right, yeah. Attending this class doesn't mean that you have to be committed to it, but we certainly would also encourage you. And I always say that the decisions we make then, chart the pathway of our life. So, all right, Dolores, would you like to say a few words? You don't know how to have to stand if you don't want to. It's okay. You can remain.
I don't even want to say anything, but I will.
It's all right.
I'm sorry I was a little late.
That's absolutely fine.
Part of my body wants to be here, part of my body doesn't want to be here. And God has given me the grace to get up and move and make decisions. And also, I'm from home too, so it's a struggle.
Yes.
And I'm also a widow lady, and different times it hits me harder than others. And the adjustments of different churches, but this is our sister. I am from Hope,
Yeah.
and this is a sister church, and I'm familiar with worshiping here at times. And it took me 5 red lights to get through here today. And I only live not very far, but like she said, it's the winter if I'm here of driving, trying to get here and such. So my heart is just opened, and I want to know more.
All right, well, thank you for sharing. That's great. Dale and Cindy, you have already been introduced. Is there anything else that you wanted to say?
No.
There's not. Okay. That was kind of complete in terms of what I shared. The wonderful thing is you get connected with different individuals. And so, Isaac, would you like to just share a few words? You've been here. You were here last week as well. You're here this week. Try to keep it brief because you have a lot that you can share. No. I mean, and so that means ask questions from Isaac in the future as well. Go ahead.
Yes. My name is Isaac Aduda. I'm originally from Kenya, and I'm a student at Calvin Seminary.
Yes.
In my last year. Yeah. I am divorced with 4 children, 2 girls and 2 boys. They are living with my parents in Kenya. And I'm also a missionary in Kenya, doing missionary work for the last 6 years. Yeah, with an organization called Mission of Hope Africa.
Okay.
I'm doing church planting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what? We want to talk more about that in the future, but right now, Mission of Hope Africa from Kenya. Okay. I love your accent. I think it's awesome. Okay, how about the wonderful lady that's sitting right next to you, Isaac? Go ahead. You do not have to stand.
Thank you.
Okay.
Also from Hope, retired teacher, started out in California. I'm actually from Jamestown, which is a lovely town.
Okay.
Dad was a doctor there. Started in California, then Holland Christian for a year, and then got a call from a Christian school in Pittsburgh to come to take over a first grade situation. So by the time 6 years was up and wanted to come back to Michigan, came back, worked for the lab, CBC lab on 28th Street for a year, drove every day down into Indiana and Ohio.
Oh, my word.
Picked up specimens. And then got a phone call from New Era Christian School. ended up there in 1977 and retired in '09.
How many years total?
Forty.
Wow,
40
okay.
years, so.
It's Sally, right?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, what is your name? I can't.
Sally.
Boltes.
Sally
Boltes,
Boltes.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, also kind of looking and kind of following Shirley and Joel.
Okay,
See what they're
well,
doing.
it's good company to be in, and
Oh,
we're
look
very
at
thrilled.
that.
Yeah.
So Keith and Mari, you want to just explain a little bit? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Keith and I were missionaries with Wycliffe Bible Translators for, this is 46 years. And,
Wow.
So when we moved back to the States, we were looking for where to settle, so we temporarily parked ourselves in an apartment building here in Grandville on Canal. And we also found a church where we temporarily attended, which was First Reformed. And we were looking for good fits for housing and church, and we decided living in an apartment really did suit us and gave us a place to have ministry. But we departed from First Reformed, deciding that wasn't the best fit for us. And one of the reasons we came here is because this church had supported us. And we were really connected to this church in lots of ways, including the fact that my sister and brother-in-law are members here. But they're aged, they're in their 90s, so you won't see them. But anyway, we've actually made, I believe, certainly a firm decision to stay here. But we are new, and we're still, even though we were missionaries and associated with this church, we still have a lot of people that we don't know very well. We're getting to know, and we're just really happy to be here, because the other thing was we wanted to have a neighborhood church. And being less than a mile from here, this does in fact serve as a neighborhood church, which means that since we only have one car for the two of us, we rarely have conflicts, because one of us can just walk or bike over here anytime we want. So that's advantages to being in a neighborhood church. So-
Thank you, and you have a unique ministry also in the apartment complex that you are involved with. And so, literally being salt and light, that resonates very much with Keith and Mari. Okay, so Amanda, I'm going to ask that you would introduce Mitch.
Can I do it?
All right, you may do that if you want.
Alright, so I'm Mitch. I am Pastor Will's adoptive son, technically. Not really, but he's close enough. So I grew up with him as my pastor, and I have followed him after he left Millbrook CRC. And so here we are. We as a couple are looking for a church. We like Grandville CRC, and so that's pretty much us right now. So
Okay, and they're also planning to be married at some point.
sometime next year, probably.
Next
yeah.
year. So I've already got them scheduled on my calendar, and I've been honored to actually, so we need to have more conversations about
Yeah.
that. But I'm glad you're here. This is a good place to plug into, and as a young couple and all the generations that are represented. Okay, so what is next?
Me.
Okay, do you want me to kind of advance the slides?
No,
while
that's
you're-
fine, but
I
Okay.
should probably do it too.
He
Oh,
said with sound.
yeah,
all
that's a
that.
great idea.
So,
All right.
if you want him
So, I'm gonna keep this really quick because we wanna be conscious of time and getting you out of here. Just thought it would be interesting to hear a little bit about the history of the church. You've been here in worship, but these are kind of things that you don't hear about unless somebody talks about it. So, just kind of where we started and where we're headed, and hopefully that will help you make a decision if you want to become a member here as well. So the history, 29 families started a church in 1954
That's cool.
because people were building further and further south along Wilson here, and so there was a need for a new church. The first church service was held in 1956 in the building here, which is no longer here, but they, in 54 when the church started, they acquired this property and started building a church, and it was a little, almost like a chapel setting. And the first services were held there in 1956. But then in 1959, the church had grown so much in just those short few years that they had outgrown that small sanctuary. They built on, and the current sanctuary came into being. And for a long time, that first little chapel served as our fellowship hall, so it was kind of in the same location along this way, where our current friendship hall is. And the first service was held in what is now our sanctuary in 1963. I grew up in this church, and I remember vaguely as a little girl when the church got so big that we couldn't all fit in the sanctuary together. We would have closed captioned TV, if anybody remembers closed caption. Some of us would have to sit in the overflow in that first little chapel area and watch the church service on a little TV in the front. So it was very odd, and that was not today you would have satellite churches and, mega churches that have multiple locations and they watch things on the screen, but that was not something we did in the early 70s. So in 1974, there were 220 members at South Grandville.
Wow.
It was huge. And that was when we gave birth to Fellowship CRC, which is the church on the corner of 44th and Ivan Rust. So that is a daughter church to us. And then moving along, 1998, we did a major renovation, and that's how this current iteration came. We expanded the lobby, that coffee area and stuff out there is all new to that. This whole flow through here was all created then, and also the new friendship hall was added. So, here we are now. We're, again, a relatively small church, but we're just praying that God will burst us at the seams again really soon here. So we're looking forward to going there with you if you choose to go with us. So last fall, over the winter, I guess, Pastor John kind of encouraged our leadership team, which we call ministry team, to think about who we are and where we want to go. So we put together what we call a ministry plan. We started out talking about what our core values are, and we came up with these: enfolding, discipling, worshiping, giving, and witnessing. We just asked ourselves, what is South Grandville really good at? And one of the things a couple of you mentioned, a very friendly church. So the enfolding kind of came from that. Discipling and worshiping and giving is a big part of what we do here. And then the witnessing, just sharing Jesus, being salt, the salt of the earth, and making life better for other people by inviting them to know Jesus too. And then we wanted to come up with a mission statement to kind of encompass those core values, to bring glory to God as a community of believers by enfolding, discipling, worshiping, giving, and witnessing. And then we wanted to pare it down to a vision statement that would be really easy for people to remember. So we talked about, let's get that down to 3 words that we can remember. And you see it, on the wall right outside here. You see it on the banner in the front of church: connect, equip, and reach. And really, everything that we do as a staff and as a ministry team, council, we always evaluate everything that we're doing now to how does that connect people? How does it connect people to God? How does it equip people with the Word of God to go out then and reach out to those around us? So we're using those really as our guiding principles for everything that we do here. So that's South Grandville.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, there's material that we're giving to you, and it's good. I think it's good reading material. If you really want to learn a little bit more about who we are, this ministry plan that I think many of you have picked up is a great opportunity to kind of review that. Here's the deal, if you fail to plan, you might as well plan on failing, right? How many times, whether you're teaching, you have a lesson plan, right? Well, this is our ministry plan. as we connect, as we are equipped, and as we reach the world around us. Okay, so read this through. You certainly are free to ask lots of questions about this. This kind of gives the roadmap, all right?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that ministry plan a little bit more in depth next week, just so you can kind of get an idea of the things that we do and where you might be able to get yourself plugged in as well, so.
Yeah, that's the,
The partnering in ministry sheet, you can just look it over and think about it for next week. I'll tell you a little bit about each of these ministries that's mentioned on here, and then you can decide if that's something that you want to get involved with too. We'll collect these next week maybe.
absolutely. So if you have questions, please, write them out, tear that off, and just throw them on the desk or whatever, so we can address some of those issues. We didn't want to do very much more than what we've already talked about, correct?
Yeah, just introductions.
Just a special reminder, there's also some information regarding the church assistance program that we have through Pine Rest. I'll talk a little bit more by personal experience, what that means, the CAP program. That'll be next time. We also will have an elder talking about households. In other words, how do we care for you? How are we able to support, reach the community, but care for you individually? The partnership thing is important because membership means ministry, okay? We'd love to get you plugged into various things that are a part of it. And then we also have a deacon next Sunday that will talk a little bit about giving of gifts and so on, okay? So that's also part of our work. Well, that's part of the giving, right? Giving and the unfolding that we talked about with the core values. Is there anything else, Diane, that we wanted to highlight?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Pastor John to close in prayer, if that's all right.
Surely.
If you're into that. Thank you.
Let's pray together. We're thankful, dear God, for our morning worship, grateful for opportunities to sing, to pray, to listen, and also now to increasingly become the salt that you want us to be. We're thankful for an opportunity to become acquainted a bit with each other and an opportunity to become a bit more aware of what's built behind the name, South Grandville Christian Reformed. We're thankful for each person in this room and pray that we'll be able to connect again next Sunday, discover a bit more about who we are and what we're about, all as we seek to be faithful and also as we seek to be both salt and light. We pray a special blessing for those who are wanting to find their way to a meaningful church home here in Grandville. And we pray that you will open their hearts to see what's just right and what's just wise for them. Hear our prayers and give us blessing for the day and the week that follows. For Jesus' sake, amen.
And our website too, by the way, if you want to learn more about what it means to be a member here, what it means to be a Christian, Reformed, all that is laid out on there too.
Just by way of adding, so part of the overview of today, just kind of the introductions, you've introduced yourself, we've introduced who we are, we've talked about the ministry plan. So next Sunday, we'll talk a little bit more about ministry and programs. Like I said, the following Sunday, I'm going to be talking about the basics of the Christian faith. Okay, Christianity 101, the whole idea of believing. So then we kind of recap what it is that we share together as believers in Jesus Christ. And then the following week, Pastor John is also going to focus on what does it mean to be Christian Reformed? Or as I say, Reformed and Christian in terms of our perspective. So that covers the whole overview of the next several weeks, and we'd love to see you come back and be a part of that. And so God bless you. We've already closed in prayer, so you are dismissed. Okay? What a blessing.